The last conquered envoy stood on the cracked surface of the ruined colony world of Nearith, their silver uniforms shimmering faintly beneath a dying sun. Around them, shattered buildings smoked and twisted in the haze of war, the echoes of the battle, still fresh. Captain Leora Hayes watched silently, her jaw tight as the envoy's cold words carved themselves into her mind. You are exiled. Fade into dust or be crushed. The Galactic Concord will sever all jump gates leading from Sol. No star system will harbor your kind. Your aggression will not be tolerated. The envoy's eyes, an icy blend of disdain and pity, held hers for a long, unbearable moment before they turned and strode away, their retinue following swiftly. Behind them, the few surviving settlers of Nearith gathered, faces pale with exhaustion and hopelessness. The war was over. Humanity had lost, but Earth did not break. Leora felt the weight of that loss deeply. At 37, she was no stranger to battle or sacrifice. The scorched earth beneath her feet felt like a tomb for the future they had hoped, for yet her spirit burned hotter than ever. She was a soldier, yes, but also a survivor, and survivors found ways. Her voice cut through the murmurs. We're not finished, not yet. The crowd's eyes turned to her, searching for hope. Some found it, others, fear. Back in orbit, aboard the Prometheus, the last of the colony ships prepared to jump to Earth's orbit. Scientists, military personnel, engineers, those who survived, the initial Concord assault, were being evacuated in secrecy. Among them was Dr. Jax Mori, a cyberneticist whose work would soon change humanity's fate. Captain Hayes. The Ark is ready, Jax reported, his fingers dancing over the console as the ship hummed with life. But the Conquered will be watching. We can't stay in orbit long. Leora nodded. We don't have to. Once we regroup, we find the gaps in their watch. We find a way back. Back? Jax scoffed. They've cut all our gates. We're stuck. Then we build new ones, she said quietly, her eyes hardening. We innovate, we adapt. The Prometheus jumped into sublight, slipping silently through the void toward Earth's orbit. Below, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. President Marin Cole addressed the chamber, voice steady but grim. The Galactic Concord has condemned us. Our people face isolation. Yet this council pledges to transform exile into opportunity. Outside the chamber's massive windows, Earth spun, a fragile blue jewel surrounded by silence. In the months that followed, humanity retreated inward. Research accelerated in secrecy. On Mars, the newly established Martian High Chancellor, Elena Rao, rallied colonies around a singular purpose: survival through strength. Under her command, the Terran Vanguard was born, an elite force trained to protect and reclaim. The war had stripped humanity to its bones, but it also galvanized them. Families separated by conflict found new purpose. Scientists like Jax Mori unlocked secrets in alien technology fragments scavenged from Nyreth, blending biology and AI into something new and dangerous. The Concord's message echoed across the void. Humanity was unwanted. But as humanity rebuilt, faster, fiercer, smarter, the galaxy grew complacent, distracted by petty wars and political squabbles. They believed Earth's isolation meant its end. Only the stars knew otherwise. One night, deep within an underground complex beneath the Martian deserts, Leora stood before a holographic map flickering with star systems beyond reach. Her voice was low, filled with quiet resolve. We were cast out for fear and misunderstanding, but fear is a weapon we will wield against them. Jack stepped forward, his expression grim but determined. We've mapped uncharted wormholes, routes that Concord never suspected. We can move unseen. Leora's eyes narrowed. Good. It's time the galaxy remembered who cast us out. Outside, the red sands whispered beneath the wind. Humanity had been exiled, but the embers of a fire no one could extinguish now blazed fiercely in the hearts of the castaways. The galaxy had made a grave mistake. Years passed like a whispered secret across the void, but for those who listened closely, The silence from the Sol system was not the silence of death. It was the quiet hum of a forge blazing beneath the surface. Captain Leora Hayes stood on the bridge of the stealth cruiser Phantom's Edge, eyes locked on the starfield ahead. The ship was nearly invisible, a ghost vessel, built in the shadow of human exile to slip through the galaxy unseen. Around her, the crew moved with practiced precision, a blend of humans and a few alien defectors who had fled the Galactic Concords. Rigid rule. "Coordinates locked, Captain," her first officer announced, entering Concord space. "No detection so far." Leora nodded, but the tension coiled in her chest like a tightening spring. They weren't just spies or soldiers. They were the vanguard of a rising empire, sent to map weaknesses, disrupt supply lines, and prepare for a reckoning the galaxy would never see coming. The Phantom's Edge was part of the Terran Vanguard's covert fleet, a black hand striking in the darkness. And humanity had forged this hand from years of exile and relentless innovation. Below decks, in a dimly lit lab cluttered with holographic schematics and neural interface prototypes, Dr. Jax Mori leaned over his latest breakthrough, a quantum cipher key that could crack even the most complex Concord encryption. His fingers danced over the console, eyes sharp and unblinking. "This is it," he muttered to himself. "Once we break their codes, we'll know everything. Troop movements, political intrigues, their fears." Behind him, a shadow shifted. It was Leah Tan, a former Concord intelligence analyst who had defected to the Terran side after witnessing the Council's corruption firsthand. "You really believe we can trust this data? That the Concord doesn't have countermeasures?" Jax smiled grimly. "Trust? No. But we're better prepared now than ever before." Elsewhere on Mars, High Chancellor Elena Rao convened a council meeting in a sprawling command center, bathed in cold red light. Screens flashed with satellite feeds, troop deployments, and diplomatic cables. "The Concord's grip is weakening," she declared. "Our agents report growing unrest among their member worlds. Their outdated politics cripple them. This is our chance." "But Chancellor," a military advisor warned, "their fleet still outnumbers us 10-1. We cannot risk open conflict." Elena's eyes burned with steel. "Then we fight smarter. Covert strikes, sabotage, and alliances with the oppressed. The Terran sovereignty will rise not by brute force, but by outmaneuvering those who cast us out." Back on the Phantom's Edge, Leora stared at the holographic projection of a Concord military base, Idar Nex, a vital outpost rumored to house advanced AI weapon systems. Disabling it would send a message. Humanity was no longer a forgotten exile, but a force to be reckoned with. Suddenly, alarms blared. The ship jolted violently. "Ambush!" shouted the weapons officer. "Multiple hostiles decloaking." Leora's heart pounded. The Phantom's Edge slipped into evasive maneuvers, plasma bolts streaking past their shields, but the enemy was cunning. One of their own had betrayed their position. "Breach in security," Leah hissed, fingers flying over the console. "Someone tipped them off." Leora gritted her teeth. "We can't fight a war from within. Find the traitor." The battle raged in the cold void, but even as they dodged and fired, Leora's mind raced. Trust was their greatest vulnerability, and their greatest weapon. Hours later, with most enemy ships disabled or fleeing, the Phantom's Edge slipped away under a cloak of silence. But the cost was clear. A vital officer, Commander Arik Celis, was captured. Leora stared at the empty chair where Arik once stood. "We're not just fighting enemies out there," she said softly. "We're fighting fear and betrayal within." In the quiet that followed, Jack sent out encrypted signals, preparing for the next phase. The seeds of rebellion and revolution were planted in the shadows, watered by sacrifice and steel. The galaxy believed humanity broken, but in the darkness, the Terran sovereignty was awakening, silent, deadly, and unstoppable. The void outside the Phantom's Edge was a cold, endless sea of stars, but inside the ship, a storm of suspicion raged. Captain Leora Hayes paced the command deck, her eyes flicking between the faces of her crew. Every glance carried the weight of unspoken questions. Who among them could be trusted? The shadow of betrayal still lingered like a ghost, threatening to tear their fragile alliance apart. Commander Eric Sellis's capture had shaken them deeply. He was more than an officer. He was Leora's closest confidant and a brother in arms. And now he was in enemy hands, possibly forced to reveal secrets that could undo years of careful planning. Leora's voice cut through the silence. "We have to find the traitor before they sabotage us again." Her first officer, Captain Reza Klein, nodded grimly. "I'm running diagnostics on all comm logs. The leak is in this ship, or worse, among our contacts on the ground." Jax Mori stood apart, his fingers tapping rhythmically against the console. "I've decrypted fragments of intercepted communications. There's mention of a black hand within our ranks, someone selling us out for a price." Leah Tan's eyes darkened. "I never imagined the Concord's poison would reach this deep. We must root it out. But we also need to focus on the mission." Leora's gaze hardened. "Our mission is to cripple the Concord's hold. Tonight, the Ghost Fleet moves against the Iskran supply depot. It's a small target, but its destruction will cripple their logistics for months. The Ghost Fleet, a ragtag but deadly flotilla of stealth ships and modified freighters, was humanity's first real strike in conquered space. They were shadows, ghosts that slipped through the cracks of enemy patrols to hit vital points, then vanish without a trace. The Phantom's Edge led the fleet, the flagship of this silent rebellion. "Prepare for jump," Leora ordered. As the ship's engines hummed to life, she felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. The moment had come to prove humanity was more than the galaxy's outcast. But the sudden chime of an incoming message froze her blood. Encrypted. Priority. Critical. Jack stepped forward, eyes narrowing as he worked through the layers of code. "It's from an unknown source, a defector, claims to have evidence of a traitor aboard." "Show me," Leora demanded. The message displayed a single phrase: "Trust no one. The wolf is in the den." Below the ominous warning, coordinates flashed. Coordinates leading to a rendezvous point near the Iskran depot. Leora exchanged a glance with Reza. "We can't ignore this, but it could be a trap." "We don't have a choice," Leah said. "If the traitor's real, we need that intel." Against her better judgment, Leora ordered a detour. The fleet changed course. When they arrived, the scene was eerie, a lone shuttle waiting silently against the backdrop of distant stars. Leora and a small boarding party docked and entered cautiously. Inside they found a single figure, an alien with pale blue skin and cracked violet eyes. Her name was Vera, a former intelligence analyst for the Concorde who had defected after witnessing atrocities. "I'm here to help," Vera whispered. "The traitor is closer than you think, someone feeding the Concorde everything we do. You have less time than you believe." Leora's mind raced. Was Vera genuine, or another poison planted by the enemy? Before she could reply, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Ambush," Reza shouted. "We've been betrayed." Outside the shuttle bay, Concorde boarding crafts swarmed, firing plasma bolts and deploying troops. The Ghost Fleet was under attack. Leora's hand went to her sidearm as she barked orders. "Hold them off, we can't lose the ship." Fighting their way through narrow corridors and tight compartments, the boarding party struggled to reach the weapons control room. Vera, surprisingly agile, fought alongside them, proving her loyalty in action. But as the battle reached its peak, Leah's voice came over the comms, breathless and urgent. "The traitor is on board. I've traced the signal. It's one of our own." The words landed like a hammer blow. Leora's eyes scanned the crew, searching for any sign of deceit. The air was thick with tension, every glance a potential accusation. Suddenly, a hidden panel slid open, and a figure emerged, a crewman, face pale but defiant. "I did what I had to," he said, voice trembling. "The Concorde promised my family's safety. I never wanted this war." Leora stepped forward, her voice cold steel. "You betrayed your people for fear. That ends now." The crewman lunged, but was swiftly subdued. The battle waned as the Concorde boarding crafts were repelled, the Ghost Fleet's shields holding strong. Exhausted but resolute, Leora addressed her crew. "The traitor is caught. But the enemy's reach is longer than we imagined. She turned to Vera. Your warning saved us, but trust is a fragile thing now. Vera nodded solemnly. Then we forge it anew, in the fire of shared purpose. As the fleet resumed its covert course deeper into conquered space, Leora's mind churned with one thought. The war had begun in the shadows, and only those who mastered the darkness would survive. Idar Nex gleamed like a jewel in the dark, an industrial hub, a conquered military powerhouse, and a thorn in humanity's side. From orbit, the city sprawled beneath clouds of toxic gas and the harsh glow of neon spires, its defenses layered and lethal. Captain Leora Hayes stood on the bridge of the stealth cruiser Phantom's Edge, her eyes locked on the target. Around her, the tension was electric. Tonight was more than a raid. It was a message. Commence orbital bombardment, she ordered. Precision strikes only. Disable infrastructure. Minimize civilian casualties. Understood, Captain, replied Weapons Officer Mirov, fingers flying over the console as missile batteries and plasma turrets awakened. Below, Concord sensors flared with warnings. The people of Idar Nex scrambled to activate their ancient defenses, machines long dormant, relics of a forgotten era, powered by mysterious energy sources. The city's AI defenses awoke with a pulse of static and a sinister hum. Shields are holding, Mirov reported, but their defense grid is more advanced than expected. Leora's jaw tightened. Keep pressure on. We need to cripple their command center. As missiles streaked through the atmosphere, the city below erupted in explosions, flames licking the skies. But the Concorde was not yet defeated. Suddenly, the city's defense AI launched a counterattack. Automated drones swarmed the Phantom's Edge, energy beams lancing through space. Shields at 70%, Mirov shouted. Leora barked orders. Evasive maneuvers, target drones with point defense lasers. The battle escalated into a deadly dance of plasma and steel. The Phantom's Edge weaved through the onslaught, dodging strikes with razor precision. Amid the chaos, a transmission crackled through the comms, a voice laced with urgency and desperation. Captain Hayes, this is Commander Eric Sealis. I'm alive. They've imprisoned me beneath the city in Sector 7G. There's something you need to see. Something that could change everything. Leora's heart hammered. Hold tight, Auric. We're coming. Don't make it worse, he warned. They're watching. With the orbital assault distracting the city's forces, Leora assembled a strike team aboard a stealth drop pod. Extraction is risky, Lieutenant Soren cautioned. Sector 7G is a maze of tunnels and surveillance. We have no choice, Leora said. If Auric's right, we need that intel. The pod sliced through the atmosphere, landing silently in the shadow of ruined buildings. The team moved fast, shadows among shadows, slipping past patrols and surveillance drones. Below the city, the tunnels were cold and claustrophobic, walls lined with flickering conduits and cracked panels. The air smelled of rust and decay. Eric's voice echoed over comms, guiding them. Head to the central chamber. You'll find something unnatural. When they reached the chamber, what they found stunned them. An ancient alien device pulsed with eerie light. Technology unlike anything humanity or the Concorde possessed. It hummed with a raw, almost sentient energy. Jax Maury's eyes widened as he approached. This is a power source, but unlike any known to science, it could shift the balance of the war. Suddenly, alarms blared. The conquered forces had discovered their intrusion. We've got company, Lieutenant Soren shouted. The strike team fought fiercely, blasters flashing in the dark tunnels. Leora covered their retreat, her movements precise and lethal. Back on the surface, the orbital bombardment had reached a critical point. Explosions tore through the city's infrastructure, smoke billowing into the night. But the cost weighed heavy. Civilian transports were caught in the chaos, fleeing the city under fire. Leora's comm crackled with a message from the field medic, voice trembling. We have wounded civilians in the evacuation zone. They need immediate aid. A choice tore at Leora's heart. Continue the bombardment and cripple the Concorde's war machine, or divert resources to save innocent lives at the risk of mission failure. Her mind flashed to the words of her mentor years ago. Strength without mercy is tyranny. Hold bombardment for civilian corridors, she ordered. Deploy medical teams immediately. The Phantom's Edge adjusted its assault pattern, focusing on military targets while safeguarding evacuation routes. The strike team escaped with the alien device, but the battle left scars deeper than wounds. Back aboard the ship, Leora stood alone, staring at the stars. Idar Nex was burning, but the war had changed. The discovery beneath the city hinted at something greater, something that could turn the tide in humanity's favor. Yet the conquered would not yield easily. A shadow crossed her thoughts, the mysterious alien who had contacted her days before the raid offering uneasy peace talks. Was it a trap? Or an opening? Leora clenched her fists. The galaxy was watching. The Scourge of Sol had returned, not as a broken exile, but as a force reborn in fire and shadow. And now, the flames of Idar Nex were only the beginning. The dimly lit chamber aboard the Phantoms, Edge hummed with quiet anticipation. Captain Leora Hayes sat opposite the emissary, a tall, enigmatic figure cloaked in shifting shades of blue and silver, their face obscured beneath a translucent veil. Vorel was the name the alien gave, a representative of the Erythran Collective, an ancient species whose influence spanned clusters beyond the Galactic Concord's reach. Their arrival was unexpected, an invitation for dialogue in the midst of war. Leora studied Vorel, her instincts wary but her mind open. After years of betrayal and exile, she knew the price of trust, but also the cost of isolation. You understand? Why we rejected the Concord's dominion, Vorel began, voice a melodic whisper threading through the silence. Your species' exile disturbed the balance, but your survival intrigued us. Leora leaned forward. Why contact us now, after years of silence? The Concord's grip tightens, yet fractures beneath its own weight. We seek allies, and you are not what you once were. Vorel gestured, and a holographic map flickered to life between them. Star systems, trade routes, and clusters shaded in shades of war and peace. Our fleets patrol these sectors, yet we see the Concord's growing desperation, Vorel said. We propose an accord, mutual cooperation against a greater threat. Leora's eyes narrowed. Greater threat? Vorel's veil shimmered. The Scourge, an ancient force that feeds on conflict, consuming worlds and civilizations alike. They lurk beyond the rim, waiting for discord to weaken the galaxy. The words hung heavy in the air. A threat unseen but universally feared. We are cast out, hunted by the Concord, Leora said quietly. Why should we trust you? Because the Scourge does not discriminate, Vorel replied. And because your fight for survival is not so different from ours. The room fell into silence as Leora processed the weight of the proposal. The Erythran offered not just an alliance, but knowledge, technology, tactics, and intelligence to counter the looming darkness. Yet beneath the promise, Leora sensed caution. The galaxy was a web of shifting loyalties and veiled motives. An alliance comes with risks, she said. But if the Scourge is real, we have no choice. Vorel inclined their head. Then let us forge the silent accord. Across the ship, preparations began. Jax Mori pored over Erythran schematics, fascinated by their advanced neural networks and defensive protocols. Leah Tan coordinated intelligence exchanges, carefully vetting the incoming data. Meanwhile, Leora convened with High Chancellor Elena Rao via encrypted transmission. The Erythran Collective? Elena mused. If true, this alliance could change everything. But it could also be a trap, Leora warned. The Concord would see this as rebellion's spark. Elena's voice hardened. Then we must be ready to strike first. Days turned to weeks as the silent accord took shape. Joint training exercises honed new tactics, blending human grit with Erythran precision. Ships were retrofitted with alien tech, stealth systems more effective, weapons more devastating. Yet, not all were convinced. Within the Terran Council, whispers of dissent grew louder. Some feared the price of alien alliances would erode humanity's sovereignty. Others questioned the existence of the scourge, calling it a fabrication to manipulate war-weary factions. Leora found herself navigating political storms as treacherous as any battlefield. One evening, as the Phantom's Edge drifted near a neutral system, a coded transmission shattered the calm. "Captain Hayes," the voice was familiar. "Commander Arik Salis. I've uncovered something. The Conquered knows about the Silent Accord. They're mobilizing a fleet to crush it before it can begin." Leora's heart clenched. Betrayal had a way of finding them. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "We fight for more than survival now. We fight for the future of all free civilizations." The emissary Vorel approached her, their veil flickering softly. "The Scourge watches," Vorel whispered. "But united, we can be the blade that cuts through the darkness." As the Phantom's Edge and its allies braced for the coming storm, humanity's exile had shifted from desperate survival to defiant resurgence. The galaxy's cast-out children were no longer begging for mercy. They were demanding respect. The eyes void was unnervingly quiet, stars glittering cold and distant like the eyes of indifferent gods. But beneath that silence a storm was gathering. The Terran fleet, bolstered by the Erythran Collective's ghost-like ships, hovered at the edge of the Aurealis sector. Here, near a dead system devoid of natural light, the Concord's armada awaited, an iron fist poised to crush the fledgling alliance before it could ignite the galaxy. Captain Leora Hayes stood on the bridge of the Phantom's Edge, the flagship of the Terran vanguard. Her fingers clenched the railing, every nerve taut as braided steel. Behind her, crews moved like well-oiled machinery, their faces grim but determined. Enemy fleet detected, 60 Conquered warships, capital vessels among them, reported Riza Klein, her first officer, eyes fixed on the holographic display that pulsed with red dots. Leora's voice was steady, calm, but inside her chest thundered a war drum. "Battle stations, stealth mode, off. Initiate Erythran formation Gamma 7. The fleet shimmered to life, sleek warships cutting through the darkness, engines glowing with borrowed alien technology that muted their signatures. The Conquered's surprise was their advantage, but Leora's would be their downfall. "Jax, status on weapon systems." "Quantum disruptors charged and ready," Jax replied, fingers flying over his console. "Shields at maximum. The Erythran. Tech gives us a slight edge in energy absorption." The Phantom's Edge surged forward, a silent predator in the black. As the two fleets closed, a ripple of tension spread like electricity. Suddenly, the Concord's flagship, the Aegis Dominus, roared to life, plasma cannons blazing trails of death. The battle erupted. Bright streaks of plasma and ion bolts carved through the void. Explosions blossomed in the darkness, ships twisting and spiraling into destruction. Leora's voice rang out, commanding and sure. "Target their lead vessels. Focus fire on their command arrays." The Terran and Erythran ships moved in deadly coordination, silent, precise, lethal. But the Conquered was ruthless. Their fleets had numbers, experience, and desperation fueling their attack. "Enemy boarding pods detected," Leotan shouted, eyes darting across her console. "They're attempting to breach our hull." Leora grabbed her sidearm. "Seal all bulkheads. Deploy countermeasures." The corridors trembled as boarding parties clashed with Terran Marines in brutal hand-to-hand combat, the metallic clang of blades ringing through the ship. Meanwhile, in the weapons control room, Jax's fingers flew faster as he recalibrated. "The disruptors. We've got a breach in the aft shield," Mirov yelled. "Enemy frigate closing in fast." Leora's mind raced. The battle wasn't just about firepower, it was a test of will, trust, and survival. Amidst the chaos, a sudden shudder rocked the Phantom's Edge. Systems flickered. "Sabotage!" Leah's voice was sharp. "Our internal network is compromised." "Find the source," Leora barked. "We cannot lose control." A desperate firefight broke out near the engineering bay. Leora led a small squad, weaving through smoke and debris to confront the saboteurs. They found them, human faces twisted by fear and greed, Conquered sympathizers hidden in their midst. "No more betrayals," Leora said coldly as her squad subdued. Then back on the bridge, the battle raged on. The Erythran ships unveiled a new weapon. Graviton pulses that tore through conquered formations, crippling engines and weapons. "Push forward," Leora commanded. The enemy falters. But just as victory seemed within reach, the void shifted. A monstrous shape emerged from hyperspace, a colossal vessel, ancient and alien, its hull covered in strange symbols that glowed with malevolent light. "The Scourge," Vorel whispered gravely. The war changed in an instant. The Conquered and Terran fleets both faltered as the Scourge ship unleashed tendrils of energy, ripping apart shields and hulls alike. Leora's mind raced. "Retreat! Regroup at coordinates Delta 3. The fleet scattered, pursued by the relentless Scourge vessel. In the chaos, the Phantom's Edge took heavy damage, systems failing one by one. "We can't outrun it," Mirov shouted. "We don't have to," Leora said fiercely. "We fight. For humanity. For the galaxy." As the Phantom's Edge turned to face the monstrous enemy, the silent stars bore witness to a new chapter, one where exile turned into defiance and defiance into hope. The battle for the galaxy's soul had truly begun. The monstrous ship loomed like a dark god resurrected from the nightmares of the ancients. Its hull rippled with an eerie living energy, pulsing with colors that defied description, shifting iridescence that seemed almost sentient. Captain Leora, Hayes gripped the railing of the Phantom's Edge bridge, her knuckles white. The ship's systems groaned under the Scourge's assault, shields flickering, engines struggling. "Status report," she demanded. Jax Mori's fingers danced over the console. Shields at 15%, weapons offline, hull integrity compromised. The enemy's tendrils of energy lashed at the ship, carving glowing scars across its surface. This was no ordinary foe. This was something far older, far deadlier. Vorel stepped beside Leora, their veil shimmering with an almost reverent fear. The Scourge is a remnant of a lost civilization, an ancient predator feeding on war and destruction. It grows stronger with every conflict. Leora's eyes narrowed. Then we have to stop it before it consumes everything. The Phantom's Edge shuddered violently as another pulse tore through the hull. Fires broke out along the starboard corridor, smoke billowing into the command deck. "Emergency protocols active," Leotan reported. "Medical teams are overwhelmed." Leora's heart pounded. The crew's resilience was admirable, but this battle was unlike any they'd fought before. "Prepare the escape pods," she ordered, though she knew it was a last resort. "We may have to abandon ship." Suddenly, the Scourge's energy, tendrils retracted and the colossal vessel emitted a haunting signal, a deep, resonant vibration that filled the Phantom's Edge's hull. Jax's eyes widened. "It's communicating, or worse, manipulating our systems." Leora turned to Vorel. "Can your technology counter this?" Vorel nodded slowly. "Perhaps. But it will take time, and sacrifice." "We don't have time," Leora said sharply. "Do it anyway." As Vorel and Jax worked together to erect a countermeasure, the Scourge's signal invaded the ship's neural networks. Crew members twitched, their minds assaulted by visions of despair and chaos. Leora clenched her jaw, fighting the invasive onslaught. She had seen this darkness before, an echo of humanity's own fears made real. Suddenly, a yaw voice echoed through the ship, not over comms but inside her mind. "You are not alone, exile." The word sent a chill down her spine. "Who's there?" Leora whispered. Fear and hope intertwined. The voice replied, calm and ancient. "I am the memory of those who fell before. I am the light within the shadow. To defeat the Scourge, you must embrace what you were cast out for, humanity's indomitable will." Leora felt a surge of strength as if 1,000 ancestors spoke through her veins. "Vorel, can you amplify this?" "We will try," Vorel answered, their veil glowing brighter. As the countermeasure deployed, the Phantom's Edge shuddered. The Scourge's tendrils faltered, its energy dissipating like smoke in the wind. The crew rallied, weapons sparking to life once more. "Now, Captain," Jack said, "we strike." Leora ordered the fleet to regroup. The Terran and Erythran ships surged forward in a final desperate assault. The battle was brutal and unforgiving. Ships exploded in cascades of light, the void itself seeming to tremble. But with each strike, the scourge weakened. At last, a coordinated barrage pierced its core. The colossal ship convulsed, then fragmented into a cascade of burning debris. Silence fell over the battlefield. Leora exhaled, exhaustion and relief flooding her. But the victory was bittersweet. Casualties are high, Leah reported. Many, lives lost, and the fleet is scattered. Voral approached, their veil dimmed. The scourge may be defeated, but it is not gone. Its shadow lingers in the dark corners of the galaxy. Leora met their gaze. Then we prepare, for the fight is far from over. As the remnants of the fleet limped toward safety, Leora stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars. The galaxy had cast out humanity, but now it bowed before their resurgence. And in the silence after the storm, a new hope burned bright. AI, flame forged in exile, tempered in battle, and destined to change the fate of the stars. The silence after the battle was profound, a fragile quiet woven from loss and victory. The shattered remnants of the Concord fleet fled in disarray, and the scattered Terran-Erythran alliance limped back to safety, wounded but unbroken. Aboard the battered Phantom's Edge, Captain Leora Hayes stood before a vast viewport, watching the distant stars twinkle, a universe both vast and uncertain. Yet for the first time in centuries she felt something no exile had known for a long time. Hope. The transmission deck crackled to life. High Chancellor Elena Rao's voice came, through weary but resolute. Captain Hayes, your leadership has rallied humanity like never before. The silent accord holds and more systems are pledging allegiance. The galaxy is beginning to see us, not as cast-outs but as a force to be reckoned with. Leora nodded, though the weight of command bore heavily on her shoulders. This victory was not ours alone. We owe much to the Erythran and those who believed in unity. Forel approached, their shimmering veil a quiet symbol of newfound alliance. The path ahead will be fraught with shadows. The scourge was but the beginning. Other ancient threats linger in the darkness, and the Concord's remnants will seek a revenge. Then we fight smarter, Leora replied. We build not just a fleet, but a future. The alien device recovered from Idar Nex, the mysterious artifact humming with untapped energy, rested in the ship's research bay. Scientists worked tirelessly to unravel its secrets, and its potential promised to redefine technology and warfare. Jax Mori, now head of Terran-Erythran Research Collaboration, briefed Leora privately. This device is a power amplifier, capable of creating energy shields that can withstand even the Scourge's assaults, he explained. It can also enhance our communication networks, making coordinated defense across light years a reality. Leora smiled faintly. Then it's our beacon, our promise. Yet amid celebration, whispers of dissent still stirred. The Terran Council grappled with old fears. The price of alliance, the threat of losing humanity's identity amid alien influence. Leora addressed the council with unwavering resolve. We were cast out for being different, for our strength and spirit. Now we stand not alone, but united with others who seek peace and survival. Our exile forged us, but our future will be defined by choice, courage, and cooperation. Her words sparked a new wave of support. Systems once silent now sent envoys and trade routes reopened. The empire of the exiled was rising, not with conquest, but with resilience and hope. But even as the new era dawned, a shadow lingered in the depths of space, a whisper of the Scourge's remnants and other cosmic horrors waiting in silence. Leora's gaze hardened. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, some dark, some bright. We will be ready, she vowed. Turning from the viewport, Captain Hayes convened her officers. Prepare the fleet for continued patrol and defense, she ordered. Send ambassadors to the conquered worlds willing to talk peace, and above all protect our people and our new allies. Voral's voice was soft but firm. Together we are more than cast-outs. We are the architects of a new galactic order." Leora smiled, the weight of exile lifting from her shoulders like a rising sun. The galaxy had cast out humanity. Now it bowed before the empire they had forged, an empire born from ashes, tempered by fire, and destined to shine among the stars. The end.